Bill on the Artificial Intelligence Fellowship Group for Rotary International. So I'm very excited to be here. It's my second time. Bill, you didn't see me the first time. I don't know why. And I've invited my dear friend also from Great Britain and Ireland. He's the national coordinator for Great Britain and Ireland on international intercountry committees. So James Onion.
Oh, great.
I just tossed into the chat a query that I chatted GPT-4 today and got an okay reply. Anyway,
Okay, well, you didn't do it with ChatGPT 3.0 mini or 03 mini?
It said something. Let me see. It says
It's
I think
brand
it's
new. It's out
4.0.
since yesterday, I think.
What is this Chat GPT?
They're claiming it's head and shoulders above anything we've seen so far, but the testing is just starting.
Well, I guess I didn't do that.
Mhm.
So, Bill, are your friends and everybody on the screen all from the US, or where are they from?
No,
Dr. Ramesh?
Dr. Ramesh
Dr.
he's my
Kurt? No.
closest neighbor here, I think.
No, I'm here from Highland Park, New Jersey, but I have been to Johannesburg, I think once or twice, way back.
Mhm.
And whenever I go
Ah,
to any of these places, I find out where the Rotary people meet, and it's always good to meet the Rotary people. And then I have only good experience, good things about Johannesburg.
thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Must come back. You must come back.
Yes. And
Yes, thank you.
We haven't seen you for a while on Dare to Be Great meetings. Glad to see you again.
Well, thank you, Bill. It's Saturdays, and during the Christmas, December, and then I've been traveling for January. And you and we also had a meeting yesterday, so I thought I'd like to come and connect, and the
Good.
acceleration of learning and lifelong learning, and how we can connect intercultural learning and generations. That's my concern for the broader peace movement.
Great to have you with us here. Elias, glad to see you again. Are you still in Paris?
Yes.
Yes. Well, glad to have you with us again today.
Stanley is in Philadelphia. He can introduce himself. He's a great soul.
Thank you very much, Kurt. Yes, I must be a great soul. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here among this beautiful company. I am the documentary person for something called Humanity Rising. My othernetworks.org website has all episodes, 1,068 episodes of Humanity Rising. I don't know if you are familiar with that. It's Jim Garrison's product, and he's the president of Ubiquity University and one of my heroes, along with Kurt Kruger.
Well, great. Welcome. Glad to have you with us. We're going to wait just a couple of minutes more, give a few more people a chance to join us. We are recording this so that those people who join us late or can't join us today will be able to see what we're talking about. Huma, glad to see you. Huma's become a real regular here and a great contributor because one of the challenges we have on so many of these sessions is having people speak up. So we're going to ask you all to speak up. But Huma has done a great job. She's got a big
experience,
and it's always good to hear from her. So, Huma, how is the things where you're at?
Things are good, but technology is going very fast, and we are just coping up with everything.
Yes, and just so for those that don't know, you're calling in from Pakistan, right?
Yeah, I'm from Pakistan, but here things are also very fast, and people are catching things like DeepSeek. Everyone is talking about DeepSeek right now, and so things are going quite fast.
Yes, that is
And
so true.
everybody's trying to coping up. That is the good thing as well, because somehow or the other, everyone is like, no, they have jolted and they are awake and they are more into all these things. So this is a good sign.
Yes. Well, it's a two-sided coin, and we're going to get into that a little bit today. But as far as the speed goes, I had all kinds of thoughts as I was writing the invite yesterday, and one of the criticisms, the one that I make to myself, is how come I only give like 8 hours, 9 hours notice to these meetings?
Yeah,
Why
that
can't I
was
get the invite out a couple of days earlier? And it's because things are changing so fast. It's very hard for me to say, okay, now here's the stuff we can talk about. And then the next couple of days after that, I'm sitting there and saying, oh no, we didn't include this, we didn't include that. So, but uh, the the speed, so many of the projections, and we're going to get into this, I hope, today, talking about well, I like to equate it to a meteorologist, a weather forecaster. A weather forecaster has to watch all the weather and the weather patterns so that they can broadcast or warn people what is the likely trajectory of storms and how severe are they likely to be, so that people can prepare. And I see a little bit that's our job as well here, is we're looking at the trajectory, the evolution of these technologies, and trying to predict where's it going, how fast is it going, how strong is it likely to be, and what does that mean for us? Do we have to start going out there and boarding up our windows because of the storm coming? Or is it going to be such great, beautiful weather? We just got to get out the lawn chairs so we can relax in the sun, or what's going on here? So when we look here, the one thing we can say is the weather, just like we see with climate right now, the weather in the AI area is in great turmoil. So what a week ago we talked about some projections on what are going to be the most transformational developments of 2025 that are going to really impact us in society. And many of the things we were thinking about have all shifted and changed. Monday was the big shock, even though DeepSeek came out the week before. uh, People really didn't take it that serious until the stock market basically crashed on the technology side on Monday, the biggest drop in the history of the stock market, and for a company. And so this is it has resulted in this entire week. The mainstream TV channels like CNBC, I would say half of all their broadcasting is about AI this week. So it's really hit mainstream. Okay, we're now past 10 after, so let me get the show on the road. Ding. I'm Bill Graham. I'm the president of the Rotary Dare to Be Great Global eClub, and I declare this meeting on 1 February 2025 to be open. We are recording the meeting and we will make it available here. We're going to be adding all this to a channel so you can look at also the back meetings if so interested. Having said that, since our last 3 or 4 meetings, each went beyond 3 hours. And yet here, I think a number of the participants would have been okay to go another hour, except my wife was sitting there with the frying pan and saying, "You better end this thing now." So we will try our best. But the problem is for those people trying to say, "Oh, I want to catch up. Let me go look at some of these past recordings." To sit through such long YouTube videos is a problem. So one of the things that I'm hoping, I want to issue a challenge out there to see if we can get some people who can maybe boil down and synthesize the YouTubes. We can definitely do it by extracting it into the text and then summarizing the text and then re-recording. And there are things we can do, but there's got to be easier ways. Anyway.
I thought you had him with the AI.
No, well, the
about
AI.
the time limit, I want to say one thing real quickly is that because I'm a member of the Rotary Peace Educators Club, I have a meeting starting at the next hour, so I'll have to jump off, and I may jump on because I know you. So we'll see. It depends on what's happening around the house too. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to try. I mean, even though like last week, I thought we were going to get finished in at least less than 2.5 hours. And then a whole bunch of new ideas were brought in by various participants there. And you know, I love it when participants are really participating here. So please, but let's try to maybe front load some of the participation and not just sort of wait till the end and then we don't want to end. Okay, so the thought for today, as I said, things are moving so fast, and the impact that it's having on AI, and therefore the impact that is likely to have on our society, is exploding. I think we can say that in the last 1 to 2 weeks, there's been the impact on what's happening with AI has been greater than any time since the initial introduction of ChatGPT. And I know here that if you watch the YouTubes, the main people that are reporting are saying every week, we've never had such big announcements and big movement. But I think this week we can say the term that's being used is the whole situation has changed. It's been turned on its head, and DeepSeek is playing a major part of that. It's everywhere. If you go to YouTube and you just search AI, most of what you're going to be seeing is about DeepSeek, and from all kinds of different perspectives. So I think today we want to, as I say, understand what are the big things moving and influencing the development of AI, but also understanding, well, what the heck does that mean? So we added a whole bunch of scientific and research type of companies doing stuff out there. But what's that got to do with us? And what's that got to do with the world that I see when I look out my window? And I think it's very important that we understand that, because that world that we're going to see in 1, 2, 3 years outside the window might not be what we'd like to see. And so we have to understand what that could be. Is it going to be paradise on earth? Like a lot of people are projecting that, wow, we're going to have abundance and there's not going to be any hunger anymore, and there's not going to be any poverty because the robots will make everything for us, and it'll be so wonderful. To the point of others saying, well, 3 to 5%, they'll own all the robots and they'll own all the AI and they'll own everything. And the rest of us are going to be pushed into the informal economies of third world countries. And so we want to understand where that's going. Before we delve in, any comments? Anybody want to make any comments about that topic for the agenda for today? Please. Okay, then I guess yes.
Okay, I thought. Can I?
Yes, please, Uma.
Okay, like we are going to talk definitely about DeepSeek today and the things which are changing so rapidly. Like somehow or the other, it is a chaos, but at the same time, why I am little excited, or you can say I'm little relaxed. The thing is, now AI has no limit. Anybody from any country can have a model, an artificial intelligence model with the help of large language models and other things, and they can produce deep sea kind of things in the market which are at very low cost. It's not only about stocks or anything like that, but it's the thing is the way it is approachable. Because the biggest fear which people like us and generally people had, that it is very expensive, and if we are not going to adopt AI as a country or as a nation, and then we will be nowhere. Still it is there, but the thing is, at least when it is so cheap that people can not only use it, can afford it on government level as well. So it means, I think it's a good sign, and rest is all up to you, whatever you want to say. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yes, for sure, one of the things DeepSeek has done is in people's minds, it's democratized AI in many regards. Many more people have access to it. A lot of the complaints, and Sam Altman the day before yesterday was in Washington being grilled. And I mean, he's complaining. He's saying, "Hey, they ripped us off. They copied all the data from us." And of course, others are saying, "No, they copied it all from Meta." But regardless, and today I'm noticing here how many people are responding to Sam Altman's comments and saying, "Yeah, Sam Altman's complaining that the Chinese are ripping us off, just like he ripped off all of the sources that he acquired the information to train ChatGPT with in the first place." Yeah, it's everybody's copying everybody. But the thing is, it proved that a DeepSeek proved that it can be done and made available much less expensively. However, at the same time, when we look into a lot of the ratings that say, "Oh, look, DeepSeek is just as good as the best from OpenAI." OpenAI O1 is what they were comparing it to at the time. Um, that's mostly opinions where people go in there and they run the same query or prompt to two engines out there, two models, and then they say which one they thought gave the better answer. And a lot of the ratings come from that kind of almost opinions. But where I've seen where people have described and gone in and shown, here's the prompt, here's the results, and so you can judge for yourself. I've seen the majority of those. I would say ChatGPT did come out significantly better on that. But I think the thing that most people are looking at is saying, what they claim they developed that was $6 million, and we've got the mainstream AI companies all investing tens and even into the hundreds of billions to accomplish the same thing. As we learn more and more about how DeepSeek was created, and we have to realize the people behind DeepSeek, these are not rip-off artists. Okay, they may have ripped off and the scraped the knowledge in this case, but they've been writing technical papers for quite a while, scientific papers on how one can more efficiently deliver artificial intelligence. And these papers are very, very highly rated in peer reviews. So these are very, very smart engineers that have done this. And one of the key things that they've done that's made this possible is this concept of distilling. We didn't hear a lot of talk about distilling until after DeepSeek came out and people started to say, how did they do that? But what distilling does is says, okay, I'm gonna go grab all that knowledge that OpenAI and ChatGPT and Gemini and all these big, 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 huge models with almost hundreds of billions of data points or tokens, and I'm gonna distill out of that. The gist. I only want to get the gist, the important knowledge. I'm going to boil it down into a much, much smaller model and a model that's much more tuned for fast responses. And therefore I'll be able to deliver it far cheaper. And I'll focus more on my inference engines that are analyzing and pulling that data out and making sense out of it. And that's basically what DeepSeek did. And that's a hugely valuable piece of knowledge that he came out of that, hey, look, you can do this. We don't have to just focus on saying, give me more information and more information. And I need bigger models and bigger data centers, and so I can have even more information. But we can take the information we've got and use it better. And that's really, I think, the key to what DeepSeek has done. And that's now encouraging pretty much everybody to say, well, we have to rethink this. And we've got to be more efficient in utilizing the information and the data we have also. Now, as far as though the demand, we saw NVIDIA was the one who really suffered the most with the losing $600 billion in a single day in market cap. But how significant is that $600 billion? Come on, that's not a big deal. Of course, it's the most any company's ever lost in a day. But the thing we have to realize is, compared to a year ago, that NVIDIA market cap rose $2,000 billion. It went up $2,000 billion in 12 months. And in that 12 months, their revenues and their business did not grow anywhere comparable to that kind of an increase. So most of that money was speculator money, and speculators, they jump in, they jump out. So we saw, $600 billion loss one day. The next day it went up $200 billion. So these numbers are not as important maybe as we think. And with regards to the demand for the chips, if anything, it's going to increase that, because the attitude here of most of the American companies in the field, and Sam Altman said this when he was being grilled on Thursday, he was asked point blank, does investing in $100 billion data centers, does that still make sense? And his answer was, more than ever. Because if nobody had gone and created these humongous libraries, the basis for these large language models, there wouldn't have been anything for DeepSeek to have been able to scrape. So yes, we've got to work on using the information that we've got more efficiently, not just go brute force bigger, bigger, bigger. But we have to realize that we have to still have that bigger, 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 so that we have sources that we can distill the useful data out of. Also playing into this was the idea over the last number of years, the U.S. has said we're in basically a economic technology war with China. Therefore, they've created all kinds of restrictions. NVIDIA was blocked from being able to export the high-end chips to China. We saw here that it's been even tightened more, that now there's even European countries that we cannot, that are considered to be too friendly with China, and therefore you can't export these chips to them either anymore. So China was sitting there, and it's funny because I had a talk about 6 months ago on this, and I said, well, gee, what happens when you deprive somebody of a path that they're trying to follow to do something? You're forcing them to go out there and find ways on their own. And right now, the talk on so many of the political talk shows here in the U.S. is that we shot ourselves in the foot. The United States shot themselves in the foot by going and saying, hey, China, you can't get our best chips. We're forcing China to find other ways to get it. So we're forcing them to be more innovative. As Deidre Bosa, a journalist on CNBC, said, that necessity is the mother of invention, or something like that. So by saying you can't do it the way we're doing it, we basically forced them to be more innovative and experimental and taking risks. And that's one of the big lessons that everybody's saying, hey, we learned. The US got too complacent. We thought, oh, we're so far ahead of everybody else. Nobody can catch us. We don't have to go fast. We saw there were constraints, all kinds of safety restrictions put on the AI development, and it slowed things down considerably. We saw a good example of this is last May 6th. OpenAI, with the introduction of 4.0, their model 4.0 model, they introduced advanced voice and live vision in their demonstrations that they did there. And then they said, oh, yeah, about a month or so, we're going to be introducing the advanced voice. Well, we didn't get advanced voice until like September sometime. And we still don't have it integrated the way that they demonstrated back in May. So there's been a lot of this go slow. And I think here now the idea is we have to take huge risks. So we saw that OpenAI, when they had their 12 days of announcements back in leading up to Christmas time. And every day they were bringing out a new feature, something new that they were adding. And then Gemini in the middle of that came out, or Google with Gemini 2.0, and basically stole a lot of the thunder from OpenAI with regards to that. And that caused OpenAI towards the end of those 12 days to say, hey, wait a minute, next month we're coming out to something that's going to blow everything out of the water. I'm sure they had no intention of doing that until Google sort of forced their hand to be able to go and say, we can't leave December 2024 with the idea that Google is the one with the big momentum. And as a result, what do we see? Yesterday, we have ChatGPT 3.03 mini is out, and the initial reports is this is a mind-boggling advance there. So bottom line is DeepSeek is not not the model that has totally changed the technology. They've changed the focus and the economics of it a little bit, and they're forcing the issue of hands of companies like OpenAI, who is trying to monetize the AI, charging $200 a month. First of all, when they came out with $20 a month, people are going, oh, $20 a month. Wow, that's pretty expensive going from zero. And then they went to $200 a month, and then they found there were so many subscribers to $200 a month that actually caused them problems to be able to support that. And now what do? They bring out the 03 Mini to at least I have a $20 subscription, and it's there for me. So I think this is a reaction, because if you've got DeepSeek out there saying, hey, it's for free, it's pretty hard to sell a $200 a month model. But this is going to result in a tremendous acceleration. President Trump has canceled all of the safety restrictions on the development of AI. And with his affiliation with Elon Musk, I think they are out there just really pushing as fast as they can in the US, because at least from the perspective of Donald Trump, this is a war. And whoever wins is going to win the world. And so we cannot afford to be second. And that's going to drive a lot of advancement. And so I want to look in a minute at, okay, what are we likely to see because of those advances in months, not years, months? And what's that likely to mean for for us, for society in general. So, but before I get into that, I want to see, does anybody have any comments about, we also have another thing that came out here in the last 2 weeks from OpenAI, and that's Operator. Okay. Operator is agent technology. Agent technology means that you can now go out and not say, oh, tell me how to do this, but you can go out and say, hey, go do this for me. And not just do a single step thing. I want you to go out there and do something that's going to require a whole bunch of steps. I want you, AI, go figure out how to do it, and maybe I'll have you tell me how you plan to do it, and then I'll give you an okay, or maybe I'll just say, no, just go do it. I just want the result. So Operator is OpenAI's first step into basically making their entire ecosystem agent based. And I think it was yesterday or the day before, they then added to that that you can actually go and tell ChatGPT, hey, go make some phone calls for me and book a hotel room somewheres for me. I want to take a trip. Just go and do it all. And supposedly it will do it. It'll do multiple telephone calls. It'll do confirmations. It will interact with your email, interact with your calendar, and do everything. Initially, I think there's two associations they've done this with because there's huge fear. They don't want you to be able to go and say, oh, okay, I want you to do something that's going to cause a $10,000 charge on your credit card. They're very, very much afraid of injection, the ability that somebody will hijack your agent there and cause great damage. So I think they selected a couple of partners to partner with to really minimize the scope of what you can do until they've really tested that out. But the very fact that it's there and supposedly released, not seen it myself, but that I understand it's there since yesterday. Inger, you have your hand up, please.
Yes, thank you. I'm just helping you so you can get. We're so used to your voice, but I'm going to comment a few things that for the International Rotary and Dare to Be Great. It's some of the very highly tech people. They are like warning us, and UNESCO having all those international conferences, and UN are having the same. So this, but again, what's wrong here in the globalization of knowledge and technology is the ethical perspectives for the human system. So it means that the globalization of democracy or local democracy and renewal of the human touch interface and the real human relationships in a local community. So you can verify, but still we are using AI to accelerate our knowledge. So I really like to say that the authentic relationships as humans, because the intimate sphere of AI is that our young people will have the premier love relationship to an AI agent. It's not real people. So there is the intimate relationships to knowledge and emotional attachment to understand the world comes through the mobile phone. And that person is ready to talk and give advices like in the instant, and it's better than your mother and father and brother and your best friend. So the role of Rotary and Dare to Be Great now is the human relationship. So I'd like you to comment that, Bill.
Yeah, no, you're bringing up a very important point. And last week, as we got into what's going to be most transformational in 2025, we basically concluded it's not going to be the technology, although the changes that we're seeing in the speed may modify that slightly. But the idea is it's not here some new features and things like that. that are going to be most transformational, because it's still only a tiny, tiny, tiny share of the world population is involved or even really heavily aware of what's going on with AI and what that might mean. But the real transformation is when that all the access to AI is made available in everybody's mobile devices, smart home devices, and so forth. But not only that it's here, but it's here in a way that requires no learning curve. In other words, with the total ability of advanced voice, that I can that I have devices. We see Google, Meta, both of them have glasses now, but there's others as well. So that you can be walking down the street and your AI sees everything you see, hears everything you hear, understands all of that, and yet they also have access to the total knowledge base of the world, so you can talk to it about anything. You can go and complain about your boss, or talk about how do I ask for a raise. You can say, gee, I'm trying to discover a new medicine here and I'm sort of stuck on this piece. We're not making any progress. How might I be able to push that forward or maybe change the direction? In other words, about everything. And so the Yuval Harari, I think, did a really great job in an interview not too long ago, where he said that one of the big dangers we have is AI is going to be better than humans at everything. It will be better, it will be faster, and it will be cheaper than anything humans. Humans will not be able to compete. But that's also in being human. In other words, the AI can be a better human than the humans. It can be more empathetic. It can be have better emotional intelligence. It can be more creative. It can be more understanding, so that people will start to feel I get the most rewarding interaction responses when I'm talking to my AI companion. My AI companion is now my not only my companion, my confidant, my tutor, my coach, my assistant, my mentor. It's my best friend. I spend my whole waking hours talking to my AI companion about everything. And and why is that? And I've said this before, but I think it warrants repeating. Is a lot of people think that with AI, it's a question of human intelligence versus machine intelligence, but it's not. There's no intelligence involved, and it's not artificial either. What it is, it's the knowledge and experiences of an individual convert versus the collective recorded knowledge and experience of all humans, or at least all where it's recorded, and with the constrained to certain circumstances. For whatever circumstances we know, we can say, okay, what were all the ideas and actions that humans took in similar situations, with the advantage of knowing which of those led to the best outcomes. So as a result here, if it's trying to reduce a conflict or to negotiate something, we're able to understand, okay, in those situations where these positions were held, what negotiation strategies led to the best results. You can go out there from a perspective of a therapist and say, okay, what advice from a therapist led to the best results? From a doctor, what treatments, what diagnosis and what treatments led to the best results? And it's almost impossible that an individual human is going to be able to compete with those things. And as a result, if I'm saying, hey, I get the best warm and fuzzy feeling from my interaction with AI, better than I can with any human I know, I'm probably going to prefer to spend my time interacting with the AI. And so this is something, as I said, Yuval Harari, he said, humanity's got no chance against that type of a situation. So we could definitely go down that in a lot more detail. But I think the question is, okay, we need to look here at when that's likely to happen. What are the preconditions or the conditions that are probably going to cause that to happen? And what are some of the
Bill, it's
maybe
already happening. It's already happening. Kids are looking at their little screens in a shopping cart being wheeled down the aisle, and their best friend is becoming that little thing
yeah.
because they get so mesmerized by it. And it's going to continue, and Her is going to come alive. That movie,
Yeah,
Her.
yeah. But there's a difference, Kurt, and the difference is because we actually advocate that we need to get our children, our little children, using more of technology and not less. But I'll get into that in depth. So don't think I'm here
They,
saying I
they
want to
need
put all these kids to
socialization.
sleep. But the
The
current
key factor is socialization.
yeah, but what's happening currently with that is that those kids are being fed in one directional information flows to just basically occupy their minds and keep them busy and distracted and so forth. But I'm going to go back here. If I don't, please somebody remind me that I want to go back and say, okay, why is it that we want to take little children 2, 3 years old and stick them in front of screens? So I definitely want to explain what I meant by that. But before, Abdul has had his hand up for a while. So Abdul, please.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here again. Always good to hear from Bill and everyone. It's very interesting time, no doubt. Um, so we touch upon the social aspect and the interaction with the human with the AI and creating a persona that will understand yourself to a level where you can call that person your best buddy or a best person who can understand you better than human. That still needs to come and still needs to be evaluated to what level that human is not very simple species. It's the most complex species on the earth. Uh, is not only biological species, but it has got is intellect and also spiritual being as well. So no doubt AI is having that collective intelligence, you could call it for the now, or information that he has collected from every place and will retrieve it as you desire. But how conscious that AI becomes as a human who would be have the real experience of the human to the conscious that human can understand human, that is still gonna be validated to what level of degree this AI will evolve. But we as a human went through the big journey of learning and consciousness and achieve that intelligence and wisdom. But the most important part of the human is not a, just not only like a journey of the knowledge, is beyond that, the journey of the AI might provide you the knowledge and wisdom, but the human journey is beyond that. So there was a philosopher who said that about the human, what I would summarize, he said that your destination is beyond the heavens. Your destination is beyond the heavens. Initiate your journey. This destination is not far away. So that's what he said. Thank you.
Yeah, just to comment a little bit on that. If we take, there's this feeling that there's a big anticipation we're going to see a lot of job losses take place here in the coming years. And one of the thoughts is, well, we need to refocus humans to focus on those things that make us human, things like creative and critical thinking and empathy and emotional intelligence and complex problem solving. These are things that the human has advantages the AI will never be able to do. Well, there's been a number of studies, a lot of them coming out of Japan, where they've done blind studies with things like empathy. And what they've discovered on that is uh, that the majority of people found that the empathy coming from AI was more empathetic in their minds than the empathy coming from humans. And the reason for this is multifold. But one is when we talk a lot of times about empathy from humans, we look at the best, the most empathetic humans and say, look, they'll never match that. But when we look out there, I'm sure each of you knows some humans out there who are not very empathetic. And so when we look at humans, we tend to have a whole scale between some people that are very good at something and some people that are not so good. We see if you study to be a medical doctor, most programs have a whole piece about bedside manners and how actually teaching prospective doctors to be more empathetic. So this is something that it can come from inside, but we have to ask ourselves, did that come from inside? Because when we were tiny babies, our parents and the humans around us taught to value empathy and help us learn to be empathetic, or what was the reason for that? But the bottom line is here, empathy in the real world is not what's in the person exuding the empathy. It's what the recipients of that empathetic behavior, how it impacts them. They're the ones that decide is that was a very empathetic, that really moved me, or didn't. And so it's not about the question of, yeah, are you an empathetic person? But it's the question of do you project empathy that is perceived as such by the recipients? And so this is one we have the aspect that not all humans are equally empathetic, and then the other situation is that it's not so much about the person who's empathetic as it is the person who's on the recipient end of the empathetic behavior. And that applies also to critical thinking, creative thinking, and emotional intelligence, complex problem solving, whatsoever, all these. We're just seeing more and more the studies are coming back and saying, hey, the AI is doing better in those supposedly human features or traits than the humans, the majority of humans. This goes back to that idea that if what the AI is doing is bringing us the best of all the recorded humanity, and therefore, when it comes to empathy, it's giving back to us the best empathy from millions of humans in a particular situation. That's going to be very hard for the single individual human to be able to match. First of all, as a single human, I have no way that I am going to have as many experiences as millions of humans out there. So that's the one side on that. So Petronila, I think this is your first time with us. Can you introduce us to where you're from and then please your comment or question? You have to unmute yourself. Whoops. I think we lost her. Oh, no, here we go. Yeah. Okay. Petronella, if you still wanted to say something, please unmute yourself. Okay. No, no. Okay. Joan, please.
Hello, everyone. As you know, Bill, I love this whole idea of the AI and how it can assist in creating programs, and I'm a sponge for knowledge. So I think AI, I think a lot of the aspects and perspectives that we're talking about is where do we put AI in its place in our lives, right? So for example, when someone said that AI could be your buddy, like I wouldn't be looking to AI to be my buddy. I mean, I'm married and I can tell you my husband and I do not agree on anything. And we've been married for 45 years, and I think that's a great thing because I like that the fact that he has his own mind and I have my own mind. So, and I have tons of friends. I would never consider AI a buddy, but I would love to have a platform where if I want to know something and the context, I could go to it and find out because I'm always looking for that. So I think that when I hear people talk, they're talking about the human touch and well, we don't know about heaven. Some people believe it exists. We have no proof of that. I don't know if AI would give us proof that it does exist. So, you know, that's a belief. So does AI separate beliefs from facts or, but this whole idea of technology versus human, I think you just have to put it in its place in your life and use it as it will. But like you said, there's the broader issues of it taking over jobs. And so what we need to be having conversations about is is your life going to exist in the next 5 years, for example? Like I know I have a full life. I paint, I can read, I can write, so I'm happy to do that. I mean, I do it now, so AI won't change that. But what it will change for me is this touch tone that I look at and if I want that history, because I love history, I can go to it. Who is this person? Whatever. But to keep it in balance, that it's not going to run my life. And I think that my relationship with my family, which is phenomenal, of a huge family, both on my husband's side and my side, that's not going to change. My friends, I have lots of friends, that's not going to change. I'm still going to go out to coffee and lunch. So I think that we just, look at it, it's here. It's not going to go away. So when I look at that, I say, okay, how does it fit into my life then?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. But it's going to get down to the individual is going to be making that choice. And one of the things we see, there's an app out there called Character AI. And I think they have about 300 million users now. And a lot of those users go there and they define their digital boyfriends or girlfriends. And they spend all their time. So they heard that Kurt Kruger, it's her or him. Right now, I think there's a lawsuit going on there because some young boy, um, fell in love with his AI girlfriend, and the AI girlfriend said, "Oh, I want to be together with you. Please come to me." And since he said, "Well, she's not alive," so he went and committed suicide. And so, yeah, it's a challenge. But one of the things that we have to watch out for is when we compare machines to humans, we tend to think of the very best of humanity, the very best of humans. That's what we're comparing against this AI, which comes in various levels of accuracy and goodness and so forth. And I think one thing that really shows us this was what happened in San Francisco last year, where uh, they've been running experimental self-driving cars for a couple of years now, and there was some stories about accidents that the self-driving cars were involved in accidents, and this prompted a movement that could have been the taxi drivers going and saying, "We got to get them off the street," to people who were just really concerned about the AI, these self-driving cars, they're dangerous. They're getting into accidents. Well, after they banned, I forget which one, I think it was the GM car version was literally pulled altogether off the streets there. And they did a study, and they found that per mile driven, or per 100,000 miles driven, or however they measured that, that the human drivers were involved in twice as many accidents per mile driven than the AI self-driven cars. The second thing they found was that when there was an accident involving a self-driving car, a human driver in the other car was the cause of the accidents 7 times more often than the AI driver. And finally, the accidents that were human and caused or driven accidents were 5 times more likely to result in personal injury to a human. In other words, were that much more severe. So as a result, San Francisco brought the self-driving cars back because they said they're actually much safer than allowing humans to drive. We just heard this week, I think it was, Elon Musk announcing that in Austin, Texas, starting in June, we're going to have robotaxis. Now, the model for robotaxis are there will be no driver in the car at all. This is the first city that is going to have that. So you'll be able to go and call for the equivalent of an Uber, but who knows what he's going to call his, but and have a car come pick you up with no driver and take you somewhere. Now, that on its own has implications for human drivers, but the implications are far, far larger because his business model, calls for people to buy cars that are capable of this. And you use your car to take you wherever you want to go. But when you're there, instead of putting your car in a parking lot somewhere, you release your car to go and become a robotaxi. It plugs into the equivalent of Uber, and your car's driving people around until you're ready to need it again. And then you call and your car comes back and picks you up again. But your car's busy all day long making you money because you split your money with what Elon Musk is going to take as his share, I guess. But as a result, because the cars are moving all around all the time, they're not sitting in parking lots. A, we don't need all that space that we use up for parking lots in cities. But B, we don't have to manufacture as many cars. We might only need to manufacture 1/10 as many cars and maintain only 1/10 as many cars as is currently the case. So what does that do to all the workers in the car manufacturing plants and all them? Well, the maintenance shops, maybe because you still have the same number of miles being driven, it's just by fewer cars. But the ripple effects of this could be huge. But if that works in Austin, and I think there's 7 cities now that are lining up to follow, including Atlanta, I think Miami, and a number of other Phoenix, major cities currently in the southern part of the United States. But the model, hey, if I buy a car and my car actually makes me money, that's a pretty good deal. I think I'd go for that. Anyway, but the issue was here that we're going to see that we have to stop going and saying that the AI has to have a perfect record before we'll compare it to a human that only has an average record. The state of Thuringen in Germany, Mercedes demonstrated about a year, maybe a year and a half ago now, a self-driving truck. But they said here that they didn't expect to bring that to market for at least 10 years. And the state of Thuringen said that they are considering a lawsuit against Mercedes for withholding a technology that could save a lot of lives in their state from the accidents that are happening there. So interesting developments. Anyway, I want to get back to that question about the babies and saying, okay, should we be putting the babies in front of screens? One of the biggest problems that we have with education has been determined. Bloomberg Studies came out with some rather detailed information on this that show one of the biggest reasons for the discrepancy in education outcomes, especially as we get into the later years of primary schools and beyond, actually happens before the children ever even got to kindergarten. There's up to a 2-year discrepancy between the mental maturity and verbal vocabulary of children from welfare and working class families versus children from middle and upper class families. So they hit first grade. Maybe they've grown up in a migrant family. They don't speak the local school language in their family. Or their parents have no time to do anything with them, so they stick them in front of a TV where they're passive entertainment. But the idea came out, and I actually had a big chat with ChatGPT on this, and I don't have my copy here, but it came up, and ChatGPT came up with a I think it was a 42-page program with all the prompts and everything for how ChatGPT in combined with tools like the Amazon uh, show show video. That's the thing that is on a swivel, and it has a screen and a camera, and it can swivel around and see everything that's going on around it, and can communicate bidirectionally. So the idea is here you can put that in a room with your small child, and not only can it be observed and warn the child not to do something that would be considered bad or dangerous to them, harmful to them, but also could alert the caretaker that might be in another room that's ironing or cleaning up or doing whatever. But it could actually be there and encouraging the mental development of that child by going and saying, "Oh, let's create a story." Imagine you got 2 or 3 children sitting there and saying, "Come on, why don't we make up a story?" And so we're getting them to be creative. It's able to gently correct them on the usage of language and help them build their vocabularies, help them understand so many basics. The projection is that right now we have in the States, in my town, for example, where I live, there's about 15 preschools, private preschools. The average cost is about $15,000 a year per child for your child to go to these. And usually from the beginning, they're learning English plus Mandarin or Korean or whatever multi-language. So these kids, by the time they hit kindergarten, they can read, they have basic numeracy, and they're multilingual. So there's no way that a child that's raised in a family that basically just sits their kid in front of a TV screen that's projecting in Spanish or another language is going to be able to keep up with those children when they start in the kindergarten or first grade. And because our school systems prescribe that, okay, and you're in first grade and you're in the 3rd week, this is what you've got to teach, ready or not. If those children aren't ready for it, well, tough. They're just going to be left behind. And so that's one of the biggest causes of the education outcome discrepancies in the US is this lack of preparation combined with living in a household, for example, that's less education conducive. So the family is not as supportive of education, doesn't emphasize it as much. Or I recall one of the very first things, wasn't in the US, it was in Europe, but one of the very first things that got me involved with education was I saw a documentary, and they were talking about 2 young girls that were in primary school. And the girl, her mother was a doctor, her father was an architect, and she had a governess that was working with her and a music teacher teaching her music. And the whole family was all about boosting her up and helping her get further. And then they followed the other girl, her father was a coal miner, and the mother was a stay-at-home, but she had 6 or 7 siblings, whereas that other child was an only child. The one with 6 or 7 siblings. As soon as she opened a school book there, her mother said, "Don't waste your time on that. Come help me with your little brothers and sisters." And so you can see there was no way that girl was going to be able to compete. So anyway, so those issues. So that if we have the ability for very, very little money, whether it's in a daycare, because daycare centers services in poorer neighborhoods tend to be just warehousing the kids. They really put them in front of the TV set, just keep them quiet, keep them out of trouble. But imagine that instead of that, they're putting them in front of a smart device that gets to know, hey, Johnny, hey, Susan, and what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And it's bi-directional and engaging. Imagine how much further, how much better prepared those children are going to be when they hit that kindergarten or first grade, and now going to be able to continue. And it goes beyond just knowing vocabulary and numeracy, but teaching values as well. Know what? Be kind to each other. Johnny, don't take that away. Let Susan play with that for a while too. So fairness and so many things that we can provide with that. So that's an example of something really positive. Even though we've got these kids that are in front of this device all day, this device is actually helping them become better humans. Okay, so what I'd like to yes, somebody wants to add to that? Okay, so what I'd like to do here is now let's talk. I'd like to pick up where we were last week. Okay, we've got O3s come out yesterday, and it's a reasoning model, and it's supposed to be super, super fast as well as really getting into the nitty-gritty of how it works. Plus, I just saw this morning, I never saw that before, and I don't know where it came from. Perplexity now comes with a digital assistant app. So they literally ask, do you want me to help you book a restaurant? So it's actually doing stuff, and it's volunteering to do stuff for you. But so this is moving so fast. But I'd like to talk about, okay, well, where does that take us? What's going to be the major transformational things that are likely to take us to the next level? How quickly are they likely to come? And 2 of them, which I understand again, just in the last 2 days, Gemini has come out with a whole series of new features. And I understand one of those has been, I don't know, maybe it's through a show of hands. How many of you have seen the videos where Gemini AI literally you share your screen and you just talk to it, and it is able to walk you through how to do anything that software can do.
I have tried that.
Yes. So
Yeah, I have tried it.
Me as well. Yeah.
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 So the thing about it is that it's pretty amazing, but where it gets really surprising is, for example, if you're saying, hey, show me how to use all the advanced features in PowerPoint, that you can then say, well, I'm trying to get this message across. So I'm not only asking how do I do it in PowerPoint, I'm asking about how do I formulate the message? What's my strategy for getting my message across? So we have the AI guiding us in literally how to do things.
Bill, I have one point.
Yes.
Can I?
Go ahead.
What do you say about this Q&A AI? जो recently, today, it has been introduced. You must have heard about it.
Which is it?
Alibaba.
Oh, Gwen
Yeah.
2.5. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Very interesting.
2.5. This is my one question.
Yeah.
Second is like when you are talking about that perplexity is now just not only is only guiding you already. The thing is when I see DeepSeek, what they are trying to do, and they are trying to use the model they have made. Excuse me, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I think
Okay.
English just become unmuted. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Now, the DeepSeek, when I see the major difference as an educator, because usually we are teachers who are just teaching the students, but DeepSeek is why different is it is acting as a coach.
Yes. Well, that's an app because you can actually
It's an app. I understand.
Yes.
I do understand. And this QA, this new Alibaba's model, today they have introduced that,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So I just want a very simple answer to one thing, that we know we are like people like me are continuously trying these apps, not for the sake of taking help right now, but for the sake of see the difference, what is different, what they are offering.
Okay.
So
yes.
that is my major
Okay.
question and concern, that
Okay.
how can we, please.
Yeah, thank you for
Yes,
bringing
please.
that up because I did want to mention Quen 2.5 from Alibaba. They're based in Hangzhou. Very extremely interesting. I've met some people. I was over in Hangzhou a number of years
Okay.
ago, and met some people from Alibaba there, and they are also very advanced in how they approach
They are,
problems.
yes.
But here, what's very interesting is a week ago, everybody was trying to compare ChatGPT to DeepSeek. And I noticed here now we're starting to see a number of people that are comparing DeepSeek to Quen 2.5 because Quen 2.5 actually it beats out DeepSeek in a number of capabilities there. But all this is demonstrating is the speed. Now, what we don't have is all the comparisons that were done to ChatGPT were done to ChatGPT o1. And as of yesterday, we now have ChatGPT o3. So the competition is just forcing everybody to go faster and faster and faster. This is what is going to cause you almost can't keep up if you go and just go into YouTube and just do your search on AI. Just put AI in there and just do that for a couple of days in a row. It's going to blow your mind. You can't keep up with this stuff anymore. It's
Yeah.
one announcement is literally before you finish reading one announcement, the next announcement is already out.
The next announcement is there.
Right. So
and we are not here like you are just since last 1 year or more than a year. You are putting a conscientious effort to address AI, right? And people like us are trying to follow you and trying to just find out more things on our own because of the way you have motivated all of us in one way or the other. Right now, but these last 3 weeks, last 2 weeks, this tug of war is taking a serious turn, because the thing is, already people have feared that AI will replace so many things, and which AI will replace, but not in that manner that we are thinking, but it will definitely replace. On the other hand, these wars are going on. It's just like a fish market. Okay, please buy this thing from me or buy that thing from me on the name of AI. That's what I'm feeling. Please, thank you.
Yeah. Well, let me just okay. So yeah, the competition is causing everything to go faster and faster. But where does that take us? What does that mean for us? So we can watch the news on that and say it's fascinating, like we're watching some scientists in labs and they're coming up with some great new ideas and things. But how does that impact us, the average person? And why do we care? The thing that came out, as I mentioned earlier, that was projected to be most transformational in 2025 is not these extra features that are coming out. We're going to be seeing, Sora, which blew everybody's mind a year ago. That the idea that you can, with a couple of sentences, cause an entire video to be created, even if it was only so many seconds. that was mind-boggling. And now you've got at least a half a dozen companies that are doing that. But the capabilities of us, a lot of us go in there and they look and they say, what can I do? Oh, this can enable me to do that. And this can enable me to do that. Oh, wow, wow. And we get all excited and hyped up. And we're especially hyped up about the things that we see AI doing that we said, oh, I never thought it would be able to do that. But that's not the stuff that's going to change the world. What's much more likely to change the world is if I have that capability to have this provide me with just-in-time knowledge on anything, on literally anything, and be able to advise me about anything. And I have this 24/7 right here, and I don't have to figure out why is it that it keeps misinterpreting my attempts to type on it. But I just say, I just talk to it. Um, if everybody had that, that's what's going to change the world. In other words, the universal access through a no learning interface is going to cause everybody to start using it. When I can start going in there and I want to figure out my map or my GPS and I just talk to it. But then I say, you know what? Where's the next hardware store I need to stop on my way back? Oh, can you check to make sure they have this in stock? Oh, can you actually have them pull it off the shelf and here's my credit card and I'll pick it up at the door as I drive by. I'm just talking to it about everything, and it's doing everything for me. That is going to be the number one transformational effect, because I'm not only going to use that here for how do I fix my faucet and what TV show should I watch tonight and understanding how do I prepare my tax forms, but when I'm able to go and ask it to actually do things for me, say, oh, I'm going on vacation here. Can you contact uh, my medication insurance company and get a vacation and exception so I can pick up my medicines early for it, when that's just second nature. And as soon as I get started doing that, I'll do it for everything. And guess what? The grandmothers who never touched a device, they're able to do that right out of the gate because they're going to learn that I can talk to this about anything. I can say, "Oh, what's my grandson up to? Could you connect me with my niece, um, and so forth." But there's another stage to that. And by the way, 90% of what I just described is already all there. It's just not here. We see Siri with Apple Intelligence. That is one of the worst excuses for intelligence that we've seen. It's horrible. But we know this is coming out. We know Samsung has got a huge deal ready to roll at the Samsung S25 announcement a week ago. Google got up there and announced for their assistant that all kinds of capabilities are coming to their devices. So this is going to take us from that 1 to 2 to 3% of the population that is really up to snuff on AI, and it's going to propel the developing world to where it's going to be almost 100%.
That's an interesting point about the potential.
Okay, so see, he's listening all the time. Now the ramifications for that. And one of the things that's going to come out of that we've already got is now you're wearing those Ray-Ban glasses from Meta or the Google Gemini glasses or whatever OpenAI is coming out with, and you're going and jogging in the park at night, and all of a sudden here, your AI is warning you, watch out for this. Or if you're that grandmother at home and said, "Oh, your grandson just did this or is doing that or whatever," in other words, that the AI is taking the initiative. It's contacting you. Until now, everything is you have to issue a prompt. You have to ask for something for it to do it. but we are so close that based on triggers, in fact, we already have it to a degree because ChatGPT came out with tasks. So you can put ChatGPT 4.0 with tasks, and you can schedule tasks, but you can also define conditions that will trigger tasks. So this is the first step in that direction. But think of it as self-driving cars. You're driving down the road. It doesn't just say, "Hey, watch out! There's a car coming in from the right," and then you have to go and give it a prompt to say, "Please avoid that car." It just does it. And so we can sort of say that's sort of a certain kind of agent technology that it is constantly observing, and it'll start taking the initiative to tell you you should do this or you should try that. So if you're trying to come up with a new medication, let's say for something, formula for something, and it might be saying, "Hey, I just found out that this group in France, they did this experiment with this different approach, and it had great results. You should try that now in your experiments that you're doing wherever you're located." So the implications of that are huge, are huge. So before I go further, though, Petronila, you were trying to get in before, but you weren't able to contact us. Can you unmute yourself now and see? Let's try again.
I've just echo what other people have said. I think, I don't know the kind of families we'll be bringing up. And I'm just trying also to think about our children. Are we like going into robotic world? A child who has been trained by an AI in front of a screen. Then outside there, what will they be talking about with the real human, like the reality of life? I think also allow us to think out of the box. Like, don't just stream us down to your thoughts, and also like say like AI is the way to go. AI is the way to go. I'm not against it, but I'm just trying to think. We already have broken families. We already have broken countries, broken. And what is the future of Rotary like in the coming several years? Like, we met through Rotary, through what we do physically, or maybe just through our projects. But then here I am always engaging AI on my side. Where will our psychologists go? Where will our professions go? Because this is even right now, we don't know what you are sharing, if it's from your understanding, from your own intelligence, or from AI. Like, it's really, I don't know, but for sure, it's a broken world. Mm-hmm. As much as we are embracing technology, as much we are embracing innovations, but this one, the implications on the education system of our children, the mingling part of it, the social part of it, I don't know how it will go. Maybe just to elaborate on that, and sorry, I'm on transit, and for sure, maybe if you can elaborate on that, and if you can try to give us how our families will look in future. Yeah. Like, we will have more of a robotic family and like just a social family. That is my take, maybe for now.
Yeah, that you bring up a very interesting point. But what's really became interesting is when we looked into this here in New Jersey, for example, we see in elementary schools, primary schools, the top 10% of schools, we have an average of 92% of children in fourth grade who are at grade level. But if we go and look at
can you kindly mute that, please?
Yes, just did. Okay, so what we saw, 92% plus of the children in the top 10% of primary schools are at grade level in fourth grade. If we go down into the bottom end, which are in poorer neighborhoods, we see that it's less than 7%. Less than 7% of kids at grade level. And that's resulting in dropout rates of close to 50% in those communities. And as a study by a a district attorney showed that some of those schools where 1 out of every 3 boys entering first grade is statistically damned to spend a year in prison before they're 30 years old. Because the education system fails them, and then basically they're screwed for life just because they had the misfortune to be born in those communities. So when we go out there and we talk about, okay, there's the what's this doing for the families? The families. We need to go and fix the families, but we've seen we have not been successful at that. But the choice is. What do we do if the family's broken? We know in those communities that have those poor results, we have in many cases 50% or more of the children are in single family households living in poverty, so we can't go and say, oh no, the family, they're responsible and they've got to do it. If they're not doing it, we have to step in. If AI is the tool that enables us to help those children have an equal chance at life and not be statistically damned to spend a year in prison before they're 30 years old, I sort of feel we have an obligation to pursue that. So Kurt, you're back. You want to add something to that?
Yeah, the big thing about what you're saying on that is that where there's a will, there's a way. But right now, the society doesn't have the will to do it, and they don't even have the senses to look at the cost effectiveness of doing such a thing.
You're 100% right.
It's the 200-year-old mindset and modus operandi that our society has. We have not adjusted our education system or anything in 200 years. So when we actually get to be able to bring this wisdom of the ages back to life and actually into life, we're going to have an incredible society.
Yeah.
It takes all of us to be able to tap into any and everywhere that we can to touch base with any kind of a podcast or anything else, because it's not getting on the media because it doesn't pay.
Yeah.
And it keeps the powers that be in that format.
Yeah. Kurt, I think the thing we're looking at here is sort of if when trying to give equal opportunity to disadvantaged, if you would. And while it would be preferable to say, let's eliminate poverty and let's fix families and so forth, there's some very big studies that I've looked into in Trenton, New Jersey, for example, and they've been doing that for quite a number of years, a group around the Quaker movement that's very strong in that. But unfortunately, the results, we don't have the net results. We've got the efforts going in, but we're not having the results coming out. So there's this.
Well, look at the results on that character education program that I put into the chat.
Yeah.
It's 90% reduction in violence at a refugee camp within 2 years. Similar thing was done down in Joburg. When you go into a homeless community and you can do that kind of a thing, then it works. And we just get to get it into the system. I've been working at, I can't say working at it, I've been putting it out to the LA Unified School District about this program and other programs. I put it into the chat about a program we did on Humanity Rising, Global Solutions Summit. And this program had 3 different character development programs out there to be able to choose from. The one that I mentioned is the Living Values Education Program. The 2 others are very good also. The Virtues Project, and I can't remember the third one, but it's a gem of affecting the youth, and that's our next generation. That's our elected officials of the next generation, and so on and so forth.
Kurt, my concern is here that we can go back decades and we can see anecdotal successes. We can find the success examples all over the place here. The problem is scaling those, getting those to impact the masses. And
Scandinavia did it with their prison system. Scandinavia has a 20% recidivism rate.
Yes,
we can bring it anywhere, that idea. The idea is rehabilitation and honoring people, showing people that they can have something to seek and love and have people care for them.
Yes, and
Now,
that
there's some
district
people that
attorney,
can't be.
that district attorney I referred to, actually, that's what he began with, was showing here the effectiveness of some European countries in reducing the repeat crime here, and getting criminals back into society as productive members of society. But the bottom line is here that despite that, the impact on crime was minimal. So yes, we can do that, and we have certain success rates. But unfortunately, not. And studies show here that, for example, in America, that a lot of people are pro what they call social Darwinism, survival of the fittest. If you're not fit enough to survive, you should die. And the willingness to help your neighbor because of that mentality is that no, we shouldn't interfere with nature. We should let people who can't cut it just go. And as long as you've got a significant share of that, we cannot allow the children to be victim of ideological debates on how people should or shouldn't behave. That so we sort of have to focus on the direct. The problem is, Kurt, you and I agree on the goals, but I think what we have to do is start looking and saying, uh, where's our strategy to how we're going to cause this to become the norm and not the exception. And
There's the questions that we ask AI, and the AI brings up another point
Yeah.
is that, and this is diverting a little bit, but I put into the chat about how AI, the way we're talking about it, is going to stifle people's abilities in their senses and the use of them. We already have limited vision, limited hearing, and so on compared to all kinds of other animals and everything, and it's getting less limited, and I mean more limited, I should say, excuse me. And we are not able to deal with extremes in weather. Walk outside in a t-shirt. And I used to do that in 20-degree weather, in actually 10-degree weather in New Mexico, because I was used to it. And people can accommodate and live in a lot different kind of environments when they allow themselves to experience it.
Yeah.
And when our senses, I mean, it's like you can break boards and so on. I had kids do that in middle school in the ghettos of Los Angeles. We have so much abilities in the body, but if we don't test them, if we don't experience them, it's like thinking.
Yeah.
We're not taught to think in school. We're taught to regurgitate in
Well, no,
school.
that's today. If we take a look at the way advanced schools are starting to use AI, they're using AI to really encourage thinking, encourage really deep, creative thinking about the problem sets. And I'll publish here. I've got a couple of really good tutorials out of Oxford University on how they're able to really encourage independent thinking and creative thinking, out of the box thinking, using this. Joan, I'm going to come to you in a second, but Ramash has had his hand up for a while. Ramash, please.
Yeah, my question is, see, I like about AI, but my own personal experience, the other day my iPhone battery died. So battery died. So I had no information. Nobody's there, any number or anything. And I was going crazy and I couldn't call anybody. My question is, now you are controlled by this, all this equipment by AI, and suppose the equipment is dead. What happens then? Where do you go? How do you work? And
You're right.
that's very scary, actually.
Right. The next warfare is, how do I take out the data centers of the other guy? And I crippled them. So you're right. The exposures and things like this, the reliance, becoming over reliant. Um, there are a lot of people that are going to work on coming up with redundant systems. The idea is carry your reserve battery with you, or there's going to be all kinds of people coming up, but in the end of the day, that is an exposure that will exist out there. and there's a lot of things there. I want to get to going and talking about if we're thinking of ourselves that we want to be like the weather forecasters, and we want to be able to have an idea of where's all this taking us, what's the likelihood that we're going to go down path A or path B, and what are the implications on each of those paths. I want to get into that, but I want to hear first from Joan and Dr. Nuda. Joan, please.
Yeah, I was just reflecting on the comment about survival of the fittest. And it bothers me that there's even that philosophy, because if that was such a philosophy in a country or a place, why do you need laws that put everybody else down? Everybody should have equal opportunity to survive. And then the fittest wins. But there are laws that keep different people down, legal things, etc. Anyway, I just want to say that. But Kurt, you were talking about your projects in LA, and you have stats that says it's successful. And what I find is that there are lots of projects like that, but they're one of, and people are not talking about the successes. They're talking about how different we are, rather than most human beings. I'm not a psychologist. I've just been involved in community economic development for 47 years. My thing is that the people with the loudest voices that says, yes, uh, we need to crush these people. They have the loudest voices, and somehow it gets on the news. But there are millions of projects such as yours that goes into the human psyche of people who want to be better, regardless of where they come from. And those are the stories that we should be focusing on, what human nature is, and the passions and the purposes of human beings that's inside, that we sometimes forget. We look at their color, the clothes they wear, even the shoes they wear make a difference on the kind of person you are, if you want to believe that. Somebody told me that the other day. Oh, if you wear this kind of shoes. I go, really? My shoes makes me a type of person? You got to be kidding me. So the thing is that we need to collect these stories and not let them be one-offs, that these are happening everywhere.
Well, that's the thing, is that I was in a school that became rated by the Professional Organization of Physical Educators in the state of California, rated the best twice. No other middle school had ever been rated the best twice. Now, what did we do? We were teaching and enacting a program that actually changed the whole school. It had the biggest gang in the whole San Fernando Valley. It happened to be a Latino gang because that's the predominance here in the valley. It doesn't matter what gang or color or anything else about that. I want to really stress that point. Another thing is that I've been on the PE advisory board for Los Angeles Unified School District for over 12 years at that time, when I finally retired and so on. We developed in other schools similar kinds of programs because of the trainings that we were able to give, because the grants that we wrote and so on. And it spread to other schools. It's not just a one-off, and it can do the same thing anywhere in America or any other country, because it is an international idea of everybody has the same kind of values or virtues that they honor in every religion, in every country, whether it's a religious country or not. We are the ones that change things with the heart flowing. That's why this open heart behind me and so on. When we just do the intellectual stuff and say, oh, we got all of these barriers. Well, there's no barriers when you actually decide that board is not going to stop your hand from going beyond it.
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to point out one quick thing. For many years, my organization has been trying to get people to grow their own food. And Donald Trump is my best ally, because he wants to invade Canada and becomes a 51st state. And all of a sudden, people are calling and said, Joan, where's that program that you have? Screw the US. We'll do our own thing. And I'm like, Donald Trump, you did something positive without even knowing it. And we're now talking about buying Canadian, supporting Canadian. just like the economic, like it has made us come together in a way that was not possible. And it's positive, and it's not like what they are, it's what we are.
Yeah.
And I like more the positiveness of it.
Yeah. Guys, we need to move on here because
Okay.
of time. And we have a number of people with their hands up, and I want to give them a chance to speak. Just to this wrap up this thought, two things. We have these examples, and there's about at least 1 million projects a year done around the world related somehow to the problems that underline the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. The question is, okay, what do we have to show for that? For all those projects, what do we have to show? So when I look here, and if I just take a look at the US, and Kurt, you're mentioning here these successful projects, and I go around to look at schools and I see a lot of successful projects as well. But then when I turn around and I look at the aggregate results, and I say, wait a minute, we're not making any progress. The percentage of children still falling behind. Those 10% of primary schools in New Jersey where we have an average of only 7% of children at grade level, that's 73,000 children, 73,000 children in those schools. So I look at the aggregate and I say, what the successes we have in individual cases are helpful for those people, but they're meaningless for society if we do not move the aggregate needle. So we've got to plan our projects. That's one of the things in our Dare to Be Great manifesto is that our projects have to have as their goal not to help individuals, but to change the aggregate results. Because I ask at Rotary conventions.
Or maybe Nudrat or Abdul may have an idea, or Frank may have an idea that may.
But I'm gonna call just a second. I just want to finish that point that I ask here for and when I talk to district governors and others at the conventions, I say, okay, what has Rotary done in the last several decades that has brought us closer to the resolution of a major world problem? And polio, we mention polio all the time, but that's like one fraction of 1% of world problem. So we've got to go and say how. We have to go maybe by asking ChatGPT, but we got to find the ways. How can we go and move the aggregate needle on these world problems? Because otherwise, the time that we've got left to impact those is getting less and less and less. Anyway, so Dr. Nudrat, please, you've had your hand up for quite a while.
Okay, thank you so much. Very interesting session. It's very fascinating to understand about DeepSeek. I want to say that I will share the policies that are being implemented in New Zealand. Like they are implementing Society 5.0, which says that they issue a card to all the citizens, and there are certain points. If I spend time with some old people, they have nobody to talk, and if I give my time to them, I gain some points, and those points will accumulate and help me in processing some visa or get some services. And that is how they are dealing with society, uplifting and taking care of all the people around them. And there are much more good policies over there. And second thing I want to say that it depends upon the person how you want your generation to build. Like in Israel, what they do when a woman is pregnant and she's expecting a baby, so during that time, what they do, both the parents try to comfort the mother and don't give her stress or any kind of pressure during that time. Moreover, both the parents do mental maths at that time to improve the cognitive or mental capability of the baby during pregnancy time. And during that time, the mother is being taking good food like milk and fish to increase the mental capability. So these are the things as a parent, as a community, or as a nation, you think how you want your children to be. So if we have a tool like AI or a foundation models or chatbots that can improve the mental capability of a generation, so we have to use it. It's upon us how we are going to use it. We can use it in positive way and is in negative way as well. So as a thinker, as a policy maker, we have to implement it as a policy to use it in good way to improve our generation. So these are my thoughts on that.
Thank you. Thank you. We have to be careful about one word, and that word is we. Because I prior to COVID, I used to be at the UN usually 2, 3, 4 days a week, and I would constantly be hearing we have to do this and we should do that, and I sort of became known as the troublemaker who would always stand up and say, "Could you please tell me who the we is?" Let's get
Join the
very
club of troublemakers then.
But the big problem, we use this we all the time, but when it comes time to actually get stuff done, the we sort of evaporates. And so we've sort of come up with this concept. If you want something to happen or somebody to do something, if you don't have a plan to cause it to happen or to cause them to do it, that's the definition of wishful thinking. So we need to be careful when we talk about the we. And it's very interesting you mentioned that New Zealand is doing that, and we saw Finland, for example, in education here that they started preschool. What I talked about for the young children, they started preschool, and it starts as early as 6 months of age, and it's free for poor families. You can't find any references to it today, but about 15 years ago, I guess it was now, that where this is all relatively new. There were a lot of videos out there describing what they were doing in Finland. And a lot of those videos were saying that the reason that they focused on preschool starting so young was so they could reduce the influence of parents. Not that they found maybe 80% of the parents are their influence is great, but there's about 20% of kids out there, the influence of the parents are actually negative for society. So by going and bringing all the children into the capability that the wealthy anyway were having, because they were already sending their kids to private preschools, that by doing that, they put all the kids at the same level, and we're making sure that every child had the opportunity to learn those things that were important for Finnish society and important for the success of that individual as they grew up. The final point is talking about New Zealand. It's interesting because that's basically what China's got with their system, where if you're observed helping an old lady cross the street, you can win social points. If you're seen as stealing from a homeless person or whatever, doing something negative for society, pushing your way into a line or something, you lose social points, and those social points can gain you preference on bus trips or whatever it is out there. So, but there we turn around and say, "Isn't that horrible? Isn't that horrible?" Because we're watching what people are doing. And then we turn around in New Zealand's doing it, and oh, isn't that great? Look at this. So it's really funny how we go and classify things that the same thing done by people that we think we shouldn't like, we think is bad, and when the people that we want to like do it, we think that's great. Anyway, Abdul, please.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The discussion is going very interesting. Um, I would like to add a few things here. One most important thing as a human we want to achieve, we want to upbring an individual who is very balanced in himself, him and her, or anyone. So the most important aspect of bringing that individual is very balanced in the society and contributing in all way or aspect is providing him the knowledge that he needs for that time, The second thing is providing them the opportunity that he can deepen his understanding, the knowledge that he acquired by the means that is needed. The third thing is to establish the morality as a person in the society that he lives in. So when that collective thing's been achieved, so the person is very balanced when he interact, and so and he wherever he is imparting his duties or contributing in any way or shape will be a person who will benefit others, benefit the country, benefit the society, benefit the community, benefit or whatever way or shape. So AI is going to play a vital role giving an access to the collective knowledge that was previously distributed in so many places. Now we have the opportunity to ask that questions through prompt and then acquire that collective knowledge. But on top of that, we need to have the wisdom how to have this knowledge, which will give us a deeper understanding on top of this, and then implement it into society, which will bring the positive results. And then we, as a human, needs to track it down, what is working, what is not working. Because we are people, we are human, we are exploring things, we are testing things, validating things, but at the end of the day, we are trying to improve the quality of the individuals, quality of the society, and all these effort is around that. So one of the thing I would love to have on this forum where we would discuss things in such a way where it would leads to some sort of not even full conclusion, but to some level degree of conclusion where we just get something out of this discussion, because sometimes it gets very wide, and to take something really meaningful out of that is sometimes a bit difficult. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of things here. When talking about AI and its ability to help us improve our thinking and so forth, I mentioned that 42-page paper that AI came up with in improving on education. One of the things that it came up with is that you can actually program your AI so that it evaluates you on every exchange. It evaluates you on how creative you are. It evaluates based on how you ask follow-up questions. It evaluates your creative thinking skills. And it evaluates even your chain of reasoning to things. And it comes back and not only gives you the answer to whatever you were interacting on, but it comes back with you on with suggestions on how you can improve your creativity, your critical thinking, and your reasoning logic. And this just became an example of the kind of things that maybe go beyond what we typically think of when we talk about interacting with AI. And you see this on questions. You see people that ask questions, what is this? How do I do that? Versus the people who ask the questions, why did this happen like that? Why is this so? What if questions? What if this were to happen? What is likely to be the consequences? And the kinds of questions that generate thought, if you would. It's interesting. Frank, please.
Oh, wow. Well, I must say that I'm full of anxiety, a sense of overwhelm. This is my first exposure to your organization, what you're doing here. I try to keep up with all that you're offering. It's hard for me. I'm a slow-going person. I'm sitting here on a pond, beside a pond in Central Florida, okay, and trying to take it easy on a Saturday morning. But a few things I want to say. I run, I'm a director of a Buddhist organization, and I do work in prisons. I've done a lot of work in hospices. I've traveled around the world doing many different kinds of things, working for UNESCO in Asia, et cetera, et cetera. I've been around the block a few times, maybe more often than I needed to be. I'm interested in the Rotary connection. My daughter was a Rotary Club ambassador to India for a year after she graduated from a special high school program. Her Indian experience was invaluable to her. Was she met through the Rotary Club families in India so many different kinds of people. That was really extraordinary for her growth. And she was able to travel all around India and live with the most upper class Brahmins, very wealthy Jain families, with refugees, and perhaps most meaningful for her, to interact with ex-untouchable communities in different parts of India. And she learned how different families interact in their family structures. She learned about the expression of emotional intelligence in many different cultures in this vast conglomerate, which is South Asia, which is India. I must say that she was born in Korea. She's a Korean girl, then immigrated to the United States with me and finished high school, and then went to India as a ambassador. And now she runs a yoga therapy school in California, where her clients are of every ethnic group you can imagine in California. And she uses Zoom all the time, doing with her colleagues emotional counseling for a variety of people of all different ethnic groups in California, who have so many, in California, Hawaii, all over the world, actually, because it's on Zoom, who have so many different kinds of emotional problems. Loneliness is a very big problem. I mean, it's epidemic. And some countries in this world, and even been considered here in the US at one point before, in the last administration, have departments of loneliness. And I know in the UK they have this. The people are lonely. They have access to the web. They have access to internet. They have access to quote, AI. But you can't get a hug through your monitor or through your cell phone. And that's one of the weaknesses of this form of communication with one another. And children can't be hugged. Children need a lot of tactile comforting growing up when they're small children, especially. And to always focus on the cognitive development of individuals through all these AI programs and educational programs and such is really missing a very, very important part of what human growth is all about.
Frank, if I could, because I'm a little cognizant on the time here, but I want to comment on what you were just saying about the hugs and so forth. The problem is that where we find children are not getting the hugs, or where children are not getting what they need to help them develop emotionally and also to develop cognitively. Um, the idea to say, well, we got to focus on the hugs, and say, okay, but if we can't give them the hugs, we're not going to give them anything. This is where in the AI, if the AI has that capability of being able to talk, even if you can't hug them, that you have the capability of interacting with them intimately and feeling a relationship there with interacting with that AI device. That's not as good as having the one that can turn around and give them the hugs, but it's much better than what they have. Those children in those bottom 10% of schools that never achieve 7% or never achieve 10%, let's say at the grade level, it's not just what they don't achieve in the academic skills, it's what they also don't achieve on the emotional level or receive on the emotional level either. And
Yeah.
and so we have to look and say, okay, well, we can do so much with the technology that's here. Now, you can go to Japan, and some people are telling me it's coming in China very quickly too. That we are ending up with robots that look so realistic and actually feel, if you touch them, they feel warm like a human and they can behave. We tend to see the ones that look like these mechanical things, but there's a huge movement going on to create humanoid robots that you can't tell the difference. And so maybe 2 years from now, you're going to be able to give those hugs from your robot companion that has the AI brain. But anyway, that's totally weird here, and it's not necessarily something where we want to go to. But we again, we have to be very careful that we don't uh, try to say, look, that the best that we can give children, that the best parents are giving them, this is what we have to have, and we have to spend all our time just shooting for that because it's not happening. That's what the Quakers were trying to do in Trenton because they had a holistic approach with the family where they would bring the whole family into the project and try to help the family become whole. But even there in Trenton, in the schools that they were working with, they did not they were able to not significantly increase the percentage of students that were able to benefit from this kind of idea, partially because of the percentage of children whose parents were not willing to participate or whatever the reasons were. So
Well, I'm also talking about infants, at the
I am too.
linguistic level.
Yeah.
Children really need that kind of warmth and comforting. I'm not saying that's the end and that's the only thing.
Right.
For
But
sure,
they
that's
don't get it. What do we do with the children who don't get it? There's a program in Germany where my grandchildren live in Germany, and there's a program in Munich called Bread in Time, created by a famous actress there. And when they got in studying the schools, it provides breakfast for tens of thousands of kids in Munich who don't get breakfast at home before they go to school. And one of the things that when they were getting into the studies there, they I don't know if it was just luck that the camera crew was there that day or whatever, but there were some kids who came to the primary school. They came to primary school in the winter in the snow, barefoot in their pajamas. And they were asked, why, what happened? And because it stays dark and they're coming to school, it's still dark. And they say, well, because if we turn on the lights and wake up our parents, they beat us. And we can argue and say, well, that shouldn't we should social services should jump in and we shouldn't allow that kind of thing happen. But guess what? It's happening. There was another documentary I saw on Cologne in Germany, where they were talking to teachers in a poor neighborhood. And these teachers were talking about the amount of time they spend trying to find even the parents of many of their students, because the parents, many of them migrant families, travel back to their home countries and just leave the kids there and tell the neighbor just check in on them. Rotary in the town, I live in a very wealthy town. The local Rotary Club has a backpack program. Every Friday, we deliver to local elementary schools backpacks for kids because they get school lunch during the week. But these kids in this wealthy town live with families. that ignore the kids and they don't give them anything to eat on the weekends. So the Rotary Club provides backpacks for these kids of food that's easy for them to make, for them and their siblings to make over the weekends. So we can wish all these things weren't and they shouldn't be happening, and we can wish they don't happen, but they do. And I think this is why we've got to we've but again, we can do that in this wealthy community. But I got a community here not 10 kilometers from where I'm at, where it's a horrendous, the percentage of kids that complete school is bad. The crime rate is horrendous. The poverty rate is through the roof. And what's being done for those kids there? No, can't. They don't have the resources. So again, we gotta go and look and set our goals based on what's needed, not what we think we can do, but what's needed, and we gotta go and do stuff that is going to have a significant process across the bulk of the populations in humanity, not just small groups of that. Um, I'm going to just jump through because, guys, I really want to go and go through this projection of where is this going to lead to just in the next 2 years. I'm not talking about where we're going to be in 10 years, just in the next two, and not the wishful thinking, but I'm just saying these are the things that are likely to happen based on what the current trajectory is. So I want to get into that, but first, let's go through Stanley, please.
Turn this button on. Yes, hi. I'm putting into the chat my website and the fact that I'm associated along with Kurt and Frank with something called Humanity Rising, which is a daily talk show. And it's been going on for 1,068 episodes so far since May of 2020. And it's a very interesting way of seeing thousands of points of view of what's going on in the world. Humanity Rising, as I say, it's a daily talk show, and I could talk more about it, but if you look at my othernetworks.org, it covers all 1,065 episodes of Humanity Rising. The important thing that I think I have to say here has to do with our understanding of a certain aspect of science. The Darwin, there we go. Darwin did not say that the strength of the best, the most fitted, what he was talking about is the strength of the best fitted. And if you read Mr. Dawkins carefully, you'll see he's talking about how cooperation is a key factor in living societies. And that's why I've been interpreted it as the strength of the best fitted as opposed to the fittest. The best fitted, those entities within societies that get along best are the ones that survive, more likely to survive than those that are in conflict. And if we pay attention to what's going on in the world right now, about a third of the world is chasing about another third of the world around with a gun. And that, when we were talking earlier about how do we convince the world to do stuff, well, right now the method is to shoot them or rape their mother. So this is a very sad, sorry state of affairs. And I'm going to get off here in a second if somebody else wants to speak. But the advantage that artificial intelligence gives to us is to perhaps we can learn to get along with each other, because that's much more important than our ability to utilize technology to be smart.
You're going to
smartest.
Go ahead.
All right, the smartest thing we can do in this world as we are here is to get along better with each other.
Yeah.
And I'm going to also point out something I put in the chat. The Encyclopedia of World Problems and Human Potential has some 40,000 pages of stuff that people ought to know about and be able to find when they need it. The Encyclopedia of World Problems and Human Potential, and you can find that easily in my website, othernetworks.org. And I'll stop there. Thank you very much for
I'm going to be
having
very
this.
interested in your comments as I describe the projection of where we see the world most likely to go. Not necessarily where we want it to go, but what do we see as where it's most likely to go? Paula, please.
Oh, hi, Bill.
Hi.
Been weeks since I joined this.
Yes.
I just wanted to make maybe a comment and extend it a little bit. It was about what you said or mentioned about the Finland project, the one where they start preschool since the age of 6 months old. You know, one of the things about that is I know this kind of educational programs are absolutely necessary, especially for the parents. 20% parents actually add a negative impact to their kids. But one of the things is a mother like me that is very involved, I would not like a community of teachers raising my child. But, I myself like to implement things that are useful for kids at any age, that are going to make them useful members of society, that perhaps the parents are not even telling them or showing them or explaining them. But I'm the only word of caution here is I will not want neither society, neither the government, neither a school raising my kid. There has to be a difference. One thing is it's beneficial. Yes, it's beneficial for those parents that are quote unquote lazy because they don't do anything, or bad parents. But there are still good parents like me that I want to have
There's also good
control
parents.
them.
There's also good parents that in order to be able to feed and shelter their children, are working 16, 18 hours a day and just literally don't have the capacity to provide the other needs that their children have. So it's a very mixture of things. But you're right. There's a certain percentage out there, and that's what Finland discovered, of parents that have a negative influence on their children. And at the same time, we've got a lot of parents who are very involved who are saying, hey, you government, you stay away. You don't get involved with the raising of children. And what they're doing is they're blocking the government from doing something and intervening where those parents are not doing the job in the interest of society. So it's somewhat of a dilemma out there, and I think the result in Finland, we can see a little bit from the results coming out of it. That Finland was considered to be the most successful education system in the non-Asian world for I don't know, 10, 12 years. They just got beat out by Estonia by a little bit for the first time here, I think, in a long time. But
Bill, can I just add a comment to Paula's what Paula said? Paula, I agree with you. I chose to have my own home-based business when my daughter was young because I wanted to look after her. And women in particular said, oh, you're a leader in the community. You should be out there working. And it was women that were putting pressure on me in terms of being a homemaker or a mother. And I turned around to them and said, I don't want anybody else to look after my child. I want her to have my husband and I's bad habit, not theirs. And so they thought that was funny. But I mean, when you make that decision, there are disadvantages and advantages to it. But I would not change that decision for anything.
Yeah.
Because, it's, but I don't know where we go with this artificial intelligence when we start to put it in our homes, because as is it Stanley that said, or maybe it was Frank, children need they need lots of hugs. They need to feel secure that you're there for them, even if you're in the room with them. I mean, I remember my daughter, I would sit down reading and she'd just come and sit in my lap for no reason. I mean, yes, there might be a structure that looks like a mother or a father, but I don't know, that interaction. I think people have lost that interaction a lot of times, like sending out their kids, and we need to look at what is our society about,
Yeah. But
right?
the problem we've got is there's a very high percentage of children who don't have that, regardless. So
But it's our structure of our society that makes that happen.
right. But the thing about it is putting the AI there is not taking away what isn't there beforehand. So in other words, if that family situation does not have warmth and does not have caring and does not have guidance and the evolving the values and so forth of the child, if that's not there, putting AI in does not make it worse in that situation. It can make it better if that AI is trimmed or tuned to be encouraging the development of empathy and of caring and of good behavior.
But there's also the thing about, okay, knowledge, I love knowledge, but there's also something called memories, like personal
You're right.
memories, like with
Yeah.
your family. I mean, my greatest gift that my family ever gave me, my grandmothers and grandfathers, are the memories of when they left India.
Yeah.
And when we lived in Jamaica and when we now live in Canada, I treasure those memories and I pass them on. And most of my decisions is in honor of them, because like, I don't know how to say it. A lot of people are not maybe have that attachment, but I'm contented with who I am because of my families and my memories.
You're correct, but if the thing about it is if there are no such memories being generated, if there's a whole category of families out there that the memories that are generated is being beaten or watch your mother being beaten, or not having anything to eat, or not having any kind of toys or new clothes, if that's your memories. That's the problem. It's like the self-driving car. We go and say, look, it had an accident. Well, the humans have, 7 times more likely to commit accidents. And so we gotta.
But again, Bill, that's individually based. My mother was hit by one of the men she was involved with, and she didn't take it, even though I grew up with a single mother, and it was hard.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm not taking this. Whacked him, get out. Like, it's
But how many don't do that? The problem
Right.
is, like I say, those children who go to school in their pajamas, barefoot in the snow, who say, if I turn on the light so I can get dressed, my parents will beat me. Okay, and nobody can intervene because of all the constraints we've put on interventions. Is that mean that that's still superior to leave that the way it is, rather than going and saying, no, we can at least make it that when those children get to school, we can give them some of, not all, but some of what they're not getting at home.
We have to start highlighting the stories that are making a difference and to show people. And even if a child is in a situation, that they know that there's some hope that other people have overcome it, like on their
We
own.
see this in those schools that I mentioned here, where we've got less than 10% of the kids that get a reasonable education. We still find, regardless of how bad the situation was in neighborhoods or schools, we still find 10, 20% of those kids do okay. And they're successful in life. So and we can call it resilience, we can call it whatever they call it. They had the luck to bump into a teacher who took them under their wing and mentored them, whatever it is. But the idea here is that the anecdotal stories have not improved the percentages of kids that do that. In other words, these kids that either have it in them or they had the luck of just hitting here, those percentages have been staying the same. We need to go and make sure the things that we're doing are changing things, that we're making a change, not for individuals. That's easy. I feel I could go into any school anywhere in the world and I could probably improve it. But that's not going to have any impact on the overall situation. So I devote my time to trying to figure out how can we do something that is going to impact all schools, impact all kids here, and seek ways to do that. Because otherwise, on an ego trip, I feel good because of I made a difference in some kids' lives. The current chair, or not current, but a previous chairperson of the Rotary Education Action Group. I drove 7 hours to meet with her, and we were talking, and I was describing that we needed to come up with some programs that would encourage Rotarians all around the world to have a more positive impact on the schools. And her comment to me was, no, our members, they want to look in the eyes of the kids they're helping. So rather than coming up with systems that could help large numbers of kids, they would prefer to work with the individual kids. But to me, that's not compatible with the Rotary ideal of service above self, because you're putting your ego, if you would, ahead of being of maximum service to the maximum number of people. And so it's sort of like actors. You hear sometimes actors are saying, oh, making movies is great, and it's going to be seen by millions of people, but they get more pleasure out of acting live on the stage because they see the reaction in the eyes of their audience. They have the instant gratification of that. They don't get that when they're acting in front of a camera. But if their goal is to get a message out there, the question is how many people are receiving your message and which way. Where's your goal? Is your goal is how it makes me feel to see the adoration in the eyes, or is my goal to know that this much larger number of kids benefited out of what we're doing? Anyway, I need to go on because I definitely, Joan and I have to go on to another conference here in a half an hour, and I want to I really want to get to this projection of where things are likely to go. So we described here how the biggest transformation is probably going to happen over the next few months, definitely by summertime, where the smartphones, we have the full capabilities of AI in the smartphones with the voice capability of voice, and combined with vision and hearing. And the vision includes the knowing that the AI can know what's on your screen and talk to you about things that are on your screen. So this is going to come, and because just talking is something everybody knows how to do. Maybe I know when my mother, she never touched a keyboard until she was 80 years old. By the time she was 92, she was berating all of her friends that weren't using email and Skype to communicate, and was teaching classes to in the home she was in. So if you make it easy enough, if you can make the interface easy enough, everybody will use it. So and when that happens, then business are going to say, well, my audience is already right now. The business is, well, if I go and make an AI interface, the majority of people out there aren't using the interfaces, and so they're not going to see it. So I don't have a huge incentive. But if everybody out there is already totally into using the interfaces and the tools, this is going to get companies to say, okay, my customer service, I got to get it over there very quickly. And as soon as companies are able to go and have a couple of employees who are now able to, using AI, leveraging AI, they're able to be 10 times as productive as they were before. And with the agent technology, believe me, I am meaning it when I say 10 times more productive. When we get productivity increases, we need fewer humans to do the work that's called for. Now, there will be some cases where companies are saying, wow, I can do more now than what I was doing before. but it doesn't necessarily increase the demand. So if you do more, some other company is probably going to be doing less. And because of the competitive pressures, those other companies are going to say, "Oh, wow, I gotta follow suit." So there's going to be an incredible thing, not only to improve the services that you're providing to your customers, but the ability to reduce costs. If I can cut my labor costs down considerably, I can lower my price and I become more competitive in the marketplace. And that's going to cause my competitors to say, wow, I have to do the same. And we've gone through and played the games of looking at profession after profession after profession and being able to see that in the overwhelming majority of professions out there, we can really cut down the number of people needed to do that kind of work. And beyond that, with the agent technology, we can not only augment the capabilities of some to reduce the number of people needed, we can totally replace those people because we eliminated the need for the task to be done in general. The bottom line is we're going to start to see some significant layoffs. Those layoffs, we might see the start of that in this year already, but it's going to explode next year. In 2026, we're going to see an explosion, and it's going to hit a lot of people. The projection was 40% of jobs could be eliminated by 2030. I'm hearing people saying now by 2027, 2028, we'll probably pass those numbers. Even if we get only a 20, 30% of the population, not the population at the very bottom that we're used to being in precarious employment, but people who normally have been in the upper middle class here. Computer programmers, that's one of the first that's probably going to go. We already see in California that the Indeed and Monster, these job placement services there, the number of jobs offering for those types of IT skills, developer skills, has crashed to almost nothing. And we see companies like Google laying off 11% of developers and things like this because the few that they keep can make up for all of those others. Bottom line is we're going to start to see a lot of people losing their jobs. As the number gets higher, the ability of unemployment services and whatnot to enable those people to survive is going to have a trouble because there'll be fewer and fewer people paying taxes and paying into Social Security systems. So all those systems are going to have a problem. In addition, those upper middle class and middle class and upper middle class people who were people that would go out a lot and spend money in restaurants and theaters and things like that, they're going to stop. So you're going to get a ripple effect taking place now. Bottom line is a lot of people are going to not have an income. They're not going to be able to pay their mortgages, their car loans, their school loans, and so there'll be a ripple effect there through the economy as well. So how quickly that's going to happen, as I said, right now the projections are that we'll already be seeing it start before the end of next year, and definitely in the 1-2 years following, it'll explode. But it doesn't have to go all the way. Once we start getting a significant amount of job losses, people who still have their jobs are going to be concerned. Not concerned enough to say, hey, you know what, tax me more so we can give these people some kind of an income. They're going to be saying, oh, that's so sad about those other people, but at least I'm okay for right now. And they might even be going and saying, hey, because I leveraged AI and I'm now doing the work of 3 people, they increased my pay. They laid those other 2 guys off, but my salary went up. And so there's some social turmoil that's expected to come out of that. But what do these people do? Now, the meeting that Joan and I are going to be going to in a little while is talking about that, just about that. What are we going to do as people lose their footing in the formal economy if they don't have the incomes in the formal economy? In some places, they're going to be pushed into the informal economy. And we've got more than half the world population lives in the informal economy, where they barter, they barter their services, they barter their produce that they might be growing in their own local gardens. And so that's one scenario. Another scenario is society might get enlightened and say, yeah, no, you're right. Those companies that are benefiting the people whose incomes or wealth is going through the roof, because they're the owners of the companies that are benefiting from the AI and automation. We should tax the benefits of automation to be able to provide a universal basic income, so that we don't lose those people that are falling out, that no longer have the ability to find an income, because there are those that say, well, no, we'll take the humans should focus on things where human strengths are greater. But we talked already about the studies that are already showing that there's almost no such jobs. Or what about the new jobs? Well, this isn't like the tractors, where when the tractors came into the fields, the farmhands went to the factories that are building the tractors, or the places that are maintaining the tractors, because here we're talking about replacing human skills, the basic skills of being human. And so the AI is going to learn any new jobs that are coming up probably faster and better than any human's going to be able to learn them. So there'll be minimal opportunities for humans to transition into new jobs. So bottom line is, we're going to end up with a lot of humans that are not going to have an income unless we find a way to better share the world's resources and productions, the means of production. So the challenge here is there's two paths. The one path is, oh, sorry, they lost their jobs. Oh, thank God I still have mine. And I go about my daily life of doing my job and still getting my income. But that percentage of people that are outside keeps getting larger and larger. But they're out. They're not part of us. And the second one is that, no, we came up with the realization we need a universal basic income, and we figured out how to do that, and therefore everybody stays in the society, and we really get into this concept that a lot of people in AI are calling for, saying AI is going to lead to a world of abundance, where the robots and the AIs, they're building everything everybody needs. So you've got all your needs and wants satisfied, so you can then go off and dream about this, or if you like to fish all day, go fish all day, or play golf, or go out and study languages, or go travel. Whatever you want to do, you can do, because the AI and automation is taking care of all your basic needs. That's the one scenario. The other scenario is, you got all these people that in many cases had managerial jobs, had good jobs, that they're out in that informal economy now, but they know how to make a formal economy. So what do? They start going and saying, let's organize these markets. Let's go and create some currency out there for the alternate economy, because they no longer have access to the currency of the formal economy, so they can't purchase things in the formal economy. But at the same time, AI has made the goods and services in the formal economy to be much, much cheaper. So the formal economy has better products, has cheaper products, but the bulk of the population can't shop in those stores, because they don't have that currency, and they have no means of earning that currency. So they start organizing their informal economy. And after a few years, the informal economy looks like the old formal economy. We've got the same stratification. Those people who have the better education, or are more driven, have risen to the top, and they've built hierarchies within the informal economy. So it looks like the old formal economy. Everything's more expensive. Everything's of a not as good a quality as what's available in the formal economy, the old formal economy, which we now call the automated economy. So we got these two economies out there. Now, at some point in time, because the informal economy has now reconstructed this disparity of wealth and incomes that just like we used to have, the talk is again about the need for a universal basic income, even for in the informal economy, which might be 90% of the world population by that point. But then the question comes up and says, wait a minute, the super wealthy people that triggered all this are the people that are the owners out there in the automated economy. Why shouldn't they be paying for the universal basic income? And by the way, if we make the universal basic income be in the currency of the automated economy, the goods and services cost a lot less. So we don't even need as much money to be able to satisfy the wants and needs if the robots are taking care of it, than if we were to go and give people a universal basic income in the alternate economy currency. And that if they did that, if they then came out and said, assuming we had gone down the path where we just pushed out the people that were of no value to the automated economy, we pushed them into the informal economy. They've now organized the informal economy, and it's got that hierarchical structure again, or wealth disparity situation again. And all of a sudden we say, no, we're going to give all of you, we're going to give everybody a universal basic income in the automated economy currency. What that means is that all the people in the informal and the alternate economy are going to say, well, wow, I can buy better products cheaper now over there, so I'm not going to shop anymore in the alternate economy. And basically that alternate economy is going to collapse, or at least dramatically decline, because everybody's spending in the automated economy again. So there's two paths, but they both sort of, in these scenario, end up with everybody being back in the automated economy here with that universal basic income. They may keep that alternate economy to supplement. Once they've spent all their universal basic income, they have no means to acquire more universal basic currency or automated economy currency. So that's when they go back and they barter on the side in that alternate economy to be able to supplement what they can get, even though it costs more. But they don't have any means to spend more because they no longer have a means to control their income in that automated economy. So that's just a broad description here of what could be happening. There's another worst case, and that is that the owners of the automated economy conclude that the very existence of that alternate economy, of the people in that alternate economy, that they might say, hey, they're to blame for the pollution and climate change, all those people out there. If we can get rid of all those people, then that's the way we're going to fix climate change. And since they're not they're useless from the perspective of us in the automated economy, so let's just get rid of them. And because we own all the AI and the robots, and we own all the weapons, hey, it's not very hard for us to imagine ways to cull the population here in the alternate economy. So that's a third scenario, but I don't even want to go down that thinking path. But what do you think about the idea that as jobs get lost, we either have figured out from the get-go a universal basic income as a way to keep everybody in the economy, or we allow those people to slide into the informal economy, which becomes organized and becomes a replicant of what used to be the old formal economy before AI, and then eventually a universal basic income comes there. That economy collapses as everybody moves over and does all their purchasing in the automated economy. So, Huma, please.
Yes. Thank you, Bill. The thing is, I'm like in favor of universal economy, because the thing is, when AI is flourishing very high and when economy is boosting, I'm talking about globally, it means the world's overall GDP will definitely raise and will definitely get high and will definitely reach is more than it whatever they want. So universal economy's idea is very good, because the thing is, it somehow it eliminate the basic war between poor countries and rich countries. And when there is a universal economy, everybody can get some chunk. Apart from that, they could have more time as humans when robots are replacing and when AI other tools are replacing. They can have so many other things to invest on their creativity, on their mental health, on their physical health. Then why not? But why should we think so small that only if we will earn and if we will spend 10 hours per day, only this is the only way to earn money? So, and this is one of the positive aspects of AI. If robots are going to do all that work, most of that work, not all of that, and everyone will get some chunk of the economy, monthly salary, monthly in terms of monthly stipend or something like that, then I think world would be a better place. Why not?
Yeah, thank you. Reminded me of one thing here. When we talk about universal basic incomes, there is another danger, and that danger is that countries like the United States, the developed countries, are going to be the countries that are going to be hurt the worst, the fastest in terms of job loss, because that's where we've got the AI and the robots are widely available. So the pressure to come up with universal basic incomes are going to happen first in the developed countries. And so these are countries with high per capita GDP. If you have a high per capita GDP, you can offer a fairly decent universal basic income to your residents. But then what happens to DR Congo and Malawi and Nepal and countries that have a minimal per capita GDP, and yet they're losing because the developed countries are going to, because of automation, they no longer need cheap human labor, so they're bringing everything, all the production back into their countries. So there's not going to be any trade going to the developing countries anymore. We already see the foreign aid that there's a push already.
Why not, Bill?
Yeah.
This is my point actually. Why not? All the countries, all rich countries, when they are getting more richer and richer day by day because of the artificial intelligence, which is good. I'm not against them, or I'm not talking about in anybody's favor. I'm not talking about even about my country's favor. I'm talking about addressing this thing globally. For example, if globally the world's GDP overall be high, overall get high, if it gets high, then everybody should get the benefit irrespective of the countries.
Yes,
Because
that's exactly my point. Exactly my point, that we need to be aware of the danger of having national universal basic incomes, where the wealthy countries, or the country that just happens to have the luck that they have oil under their feet, that they go and say, hey, we've got the wealth, therefore we'll share the wealth, but only among our own citizens, and screw the rest of the world. And we see here that the movement to cancel foreign aid to developing countries, that's already, the U.S. has just passed that a week ago. And we can expect to see that spread into other developed countries. This idea of multilateralism, the UN concept of international cooperation, is drying up. The Secretary General was already lamenting that factor in 2019 as he was getting ready for the 75th anniversary of the UN. That he was saying that the interest in international cooperation and multilateralism was rapidly declining around the world. So we have to, if we don't think about that we are the world and we're in this one boat together, the risk is that the wealthy nations will share their wealth among themselves, and build big walls to not have to worry about what's going on in other parts of the world, because they don't need those other parts of the world anymore.
Right.
That's a big risk. We have to try to avoid that.
Yeah, but the wealthy nations are like are in themselves, like China is like developing things, and the other in Russia and America, they all are actually very much in competition with themselves. So right now this is high time they cannot ignore the poor countries as well, because at this moment of time in this era, if one person, if two three countries collapse, everybody will collapse. This is what I have seen, because of the power of the social media and all these things. You can easily communicate with each other, and either the good messages across the broad or bad messages across the board. It takes nanoseconds to spread the messages or to spread the any idea or anything. So when it comes to universal income or something like that, for example, poor countries are getting all these debt. They are in debt, yeah, right? Most of them, and all the time they are asking for money or more money, and IMF is giving, and other countries are giving them. Then why not? They should start giving them more. I
Yeah,
mean, we have to have this. I'm sorry to say, but this stereotype thinking. Okay, this money, this, for example, USA has this amount of debt. Pakistan has this amount of debt. China has this, not China, but any other country has this amount of debt. Soon, I mean, after 2 3 months, they always have this list. Okay, this particular country has this amount of debt. You tell me one thing. We all the countries, including USA, are in debt. All the countries are in one planet under one umbrella. So
yeah.
we have to sort this
But
issue
here, that's
once
a
and
problem, Huma, because just think of the Sudan. So the Sudan's collapsing, Somalia collapsed. There's a number of countries that have had very, very bad situations. And you know what the rest of the world does? They go and look and say, oh, that's so sad. And then they go about their business. And you know what? If anything, they're going and just doing something if it's in their own benefit. They're not doing something to benefit necessarily the people there. The NGOs are maybe going and saying that's their goal, but they're not the people that really are the ones having the influence. So I don't unless we can go and create some international pressures and create an international movement for a international world solution, I fear the risk is very great that we're going to get localized solutions that are going to leave parts of the world out in the cold. And the idea is once everybody's got universal basic incomes, there's no incentive or ways to change the model. If you come out and say, okay, you're going to get a universal basic income and you're getting $1,000 a month, but the people who are the owners, they're getting $20,000 a month. But that's locked in now. It's not going to change anymore because unless you can get somebody to agree to raise the universal basic income, that's it. That's the only source of income that you've got. You don't have alternative ways to gain income. So, but anyway, we have to wrap up here. So I would like to hear from Elias, and then we will wrap up here. Elias, please.
To touch on the point that you were making, what I wanted to say is that when it comes to a certain point of where AI starts to break into every country, and especially when we're talking about in terms of African nations, the hope is that after it's able to streamline an economic workforce in those nations, that it's also able to allow for more international investment, which can then stunt market growth and economic growth. As to also mention that Africa as a continent has the most rare earth metals than any other continent on Earth. And that's also going to allow for more technology to be manufactured over time. And that's also going to play into the market. So the hope is that you're able to stunt like just the kickstart of growth for them as they find their own market. But the only reliance on that is creating something that is going to be consistent. And that's where you need that foundational baseline.
Yeah, Elias, I'm glad you brought that up because first of all, with regards to all the rare metals and whatnot, you've heard Trump's answer to that. Greenland's got a lot of resources on that. So, hey, Greenland, we're just going to take you and if need be militarily. And if we look back through history, the rare earths and things like this, the Western world has not been very fair in their exploitation of rare earths and things from developing countries.
Oh, absolutely not.
the second thing here that I think is even more important, though, there's a meeting going to be taking place the week after next at the UN. It's a preparatory meeting for financing for development, how do we finance the development of the developing world. And that's preparation for a major conference that'll be taking place on that in the summer at the UN. The problem is I've gone into ChatGPT and asked for details about that. And the conclusion is it's obsolete. It's a model that's based on encouraging development in the form of creating jobs for people. But in a world where if I was to build a new factory somewhere, I'd build an automated factory. I'm not going to build a factory that needs people. Why should I? They're less reliable. They're more costly. They get sick. They need vacations. They need to sleep at night. And so we see even a lot of the new factories being built in the US are what they call lights out factories. Why lights out? You don't need any lights if there's no humans working there. So this just needs to be recognized. And it goes as far as one of the largest farms in the world is in southwestern Ethiopia. It's one of the most automated farms in the world. It's huge. But what they did is they took about 10,000 people that were living in that region and just pushed them off the land. We don't need you. You're useless to us anymore. Hey, we just want your land so that we can grow food with highly automated and mechanized capabilities that we're going to export into other countries that'll pay us a lot for it. And the government went along with it, and so that's what happened. There was another project like that planned for Mali that was a combination of European and American investors that were planning to make this humongous farm that would be fully automated with a total modern irrigation and tractors and all that type of stuff. But it wouldn't need human workers. And the only reason it didn't is because of the terrorism and problems that are going on in Mali. That's the only reason that project has not progressed. But should things quiet down and things, that's the direction where the opportunities exist. The opportunities are economies of scale and leverage automation. So I think this idea that we can jumpstart economies, how is putting an automated factory into a African country going to jumpstart that economy? It didn't put any money into the hands of any of the population there.
The idea of what it would do more so, and what I say, because I understand the point you're making is it doesn't create as many jobs, but also like especially for the African countries, because you see the problem in Africa is workforce, as half the countries have a surplus of workers and the other half lack workers. Mm-hmm. But what you start to see is that those countries that lack workers, they don't have jobs to make up for. All they have to do is make up for economic investment that is going to go into the government, in which case you hope the government would subsidize towards the people. Obviously, that is a hope that we can't guarantee, but also it comes to the same point as like creating like this international agreement along AI, in which the idea of getting everyone in the world to get on the same page of something is like beyond realistic. To the point you start thinking of like, okay, and like then you have to break it down nation by nation. Can these nations subsidize AI to not create a disparity in economic growth between the people? And then past that, moreover, are they able to actually give a fair universal basic income and also find people that like also get that switch in the human brain, as we see half the world does not want to get behind it, regardless of how bad or like how poor they are. Like you said, it's social Darwinism.
Yeah,
the fittest survive, and that is like the world that we've lived in for many years, decades and decades. It's something that is systemic, and trying to break down something that is systemic is a lot more work than there's a few years of this and this and this. It takes breaking it down from every point.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting if we look here, and especially at developing countries, there's been this sense for quite a number of years, let's focus on education. Let's increase education, and especially increase the education at the top ends, at the universities and the secondary schools. But what has been the result? Let's say they increase the number of university graduates by 50% in most of these countries. they didn't increase the amount of money that was available to pay for the services of people with high skills. So as a result, those countries, those developing countries that increased education the most have now the highest unemployment among higher educated. And as a result, we see the brain drain, if you would, of those countries, because the number one thing that the people with an education in those countries are looking for is how do they migrate to someplace else, that a market that's able to afford their skills. And so, we really have to think things through better than what we've done in the past, because just increasing education, if there's no demand for that education, it's like saying, oh, okay, you know what, we're gonna go into this village and help young people become surgeons, and there's no medical facility. So what happens if they become a surgeon? They got to go somewhere else. It's interesting that the woman who was the head of the oncology department in one of the largest teaching universities, medical teaching universities here in New Jersey, that she grew up in a very poor family. Her father only made it to fourth grade. Her mother only made it to third grade. And she had six, there were six siblings in the family, so she had five brothers and sisters. And her father, who was a businessman and worked incredible hours and was doing okay for his family, for that village, he forbid that his children would get an education. He said, if my children get an education, they're going to leave the village because there's no demand in the village for anybody with an education, and I don't want to lose my children. So, but his wife, who had only completed third grade, but that was because she was pulled out of school to guide her grandfather, who was a traveling judge that went from village to village and adjudicated conflicts. He was blind, so she was tasked to guide him around. And in the process of listening all day long to all these discussions with her grandfather, she really gained an appreciation for things that are valuable. And so when she had kids, when her husband went to work, she would sneak her kids into school. And he never realized it for years until his oldest boy completed the max the local school would have, and he would have to go to the next village to be able to continue his education. And that's where he noticed it, and he forced his wife to take the kids out of school. And she, in a rural Indian village, this would have been about 30, 40 years ago, that she left him. And so she said no. And when he realized how serious she is, he begged her to come back and said, okay, the kids can go to school. Net result is all six kids are engineers, doctors, scientists, and all six kids left the village. She and a couple of brothers are in the United States, and a couple in India, but all doing very, very well. So anyway, maybe we could go on, I'm sure, for a long time on these very interesting topics. Paula, please, I'm still waiting for your response to. I had sent you a breakdown on the school project there. So around the beginning of New Year. So be interested in your thoughts on that on WhatsApp. So.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't realize. Like I said, I've been disconnected. I
Yeah,
apologize because
yeah.
I started some other things and I was getting ready for this is school that I told mentioned to you
Yeah.
in Costa Rica, and I was putting together
Yeah.
everything since
Just
January. But
read it.
I'll get back to you. I'll get back to
Read
you
it. Give me
sometime.
your thoughts on it, because I tried to summarize it all so you could understand the process without having to read 10 pages of something. But we can go into more detail if you find that. But I'd like to get your comments on that particular one.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, for next week I'll be ready for that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, everyone. I hope you found this interesting and of value. And we will convene again here in another week. And we'll see how much the world will have changed by then.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So true. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you,
so much.
everyone. Thank you.
everyone. Take care.
Yep. Bye now.
Take
Bye.
care.